Mm, Good. Mm, so,
Good evening. Hello, can you hear me?
yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah,
Mike,
how are you?
you're doing well, sir, and you?
Yeah, I'm also managing.
Yes, sir.
Can't complain.
May I please have your attention? Fashion Air announces boarding of flight OP and boarding of flight OP 152 Kumasi.
And people join.
Thank you.
So, okay, we have George and Mike, but their microphones are not on yet. Let me get a good background.
May I please have your attention? Passengers Percy Brown, Sylvia Amponsa
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. I think Mike and George still have their microphones.
Let me see.
I don't think there's anything you can do about it from them. They've not connected their microphone.
I'm sending them a chat.
Okay. But it's live on
YouTube.
YouTube. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So then probably we can start with our conversation. See.
It's not
Yeah.
live on Facebook.
Yes. Yes, we decided to stream it on YouTube and then send the link to Facebook later.
In my WhatsApp, I've added Facebook. Okay.
But you can't add Facebook.
No.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay, so I guess we can start.
Yes.
Yeah. So the question is about beyond salaries. What are the other options for remuneration? I think this is a very important topic to be discussed. Now the question is, and I want to do that with all of you on the call now. Imagine that you are not going to be paid next month and the other months that follow. Will you survive? I want honest answers. You can unmute and share or post it in the chat. Assuming that you are not going to be paid next month and the months that follow, how long can you survive?
I would like to go first.
Okay, right.
So I would survive. In fact, you asked how long I will be able to survive. I'm not sure I'll even survive up to the end of this month. So to think about next month, I won't survive.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing. What about the others?
Can I also share some?
Yes, please.
In fact, I want to be honest and say we are already struggling, and we are a non-governmental organization.
Okay.
That supports the disabled. And I have single-handedly been financing some of our projects for some time now. And we are already struggling. I've been thinking of various ideas, to give us earnings to support some of these things. Surviving is really a struggle for us now. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, so we have two people that are barely surviving. What about the others? I want to get as many answers as possible. So the question is still assuming that you are not going to be paid next month and the months that follow, how long will you be able to survive?
Um, does it mean you still have to come, like you still have to work, or those months you are not being paid for
If
anything?
if you know your company cannot pay you, I'm sure that you will stay home, right? But
Yeah.
while you stay at home without job, how long will you be able to survive?
Okay, so for me, if there is food available,
Where are you going to get the food?
planting on my backyard.
Okay,
If I
so
can
you
eat some plantain and kontomire every day without having to spend or buy anything, I'll survive for 3 days.
3 days. Oh, then your backyard farming is very small.
Yes, I'll eat morning, afternoon, evening.
Okay, yeah. So the point I'm able to I want to raise out of this is that while we continue to work, right, it is important that we do not become overly reliant on our salaries, because there are people driving flashy cars, they're living in very beautiful apartments, they wear trendy clothes. However, the moment that they find themselves out of job, they lose everything. So the focus of the discussion today is to emphasize the need to create sources of income that will help us to triumph beyond our salaries at the end of the month. Okay. So, what are the options? What are the options? And at this point, I would like those who are on the call and are having alternative sources of income to share with us what options they have or they have taken advantage of. Apart from your monthly salaries. And Veronica, I'll come to you because you are running your own business and the company is barely surviving. So, of course, that is affecting you. We'll come to you. But now I want to focus on those who are earning salaries and having other sources of income. Where are those other sources coming from? Anyone here who is earning something beyond his or her monthly salary source? Okay, it looks like there's none. So then let me do it this way. There are many ways of creating additional wealth beyond just receiving monthly salaries. And I'll begin with the most basic one. So, let me even do it this way because people are open to share. when you receive your salary, no matter how small it is, what happened to it? What do you do with it? Can you tell us? Or whatever source of income that you have, once that comes into your account, what happens? Hello?
So for me, once the money hits my account, it's jubilation. Then I have some family obligations, so I send what I have to send. I take out what I have to save. I save that, and then there are a couple of things I need to pay for insurance and stuff like that. I do all that. Then what is left is for the month, like day-to-day spending for the month.
Right. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Anyone else? What happens when the money hits your account? When you receive your monthly salary, what happens? Once you receive your monthly salary, what happens next?
Okay, so for me, once I get the money, I take out my tithe, and
Mm-hmm.
then I take out my savings. I have regular savings and I have investment. So I top that up, the investments up, and then I put the savings aside as well. And then and then afterwards, I also make a budget for what I would need for the month, and then budget for um impulse as well, and spend from it.
Right, right. That's also good. Thank you for sharing. So, in Ghana, um, that seems to be the routine, right? Almost all of us have um, family obligations, right? It's either your close family or the extended family, and so forth. And we make all those expenditures. We make all those expenditures, and before we realize, everything is finished. Okay. Now, the question to ask is that while honoring those obligations or paying others, okay, because for most people, the family uses their they are the ATM machines for their families, right? So as soon as the money gets in, then people have to withdraw. But how often do you pay yourself? Okay, and by paying yourself, we mean making a contribution towards your own welfare. All right, making a contribution towards your own welfare. And remember the question we asked at the beginning, that imagine that you are not going to be paid next month. Will you survive? Or how long are you going to survive? Truthfully, your worth is not equal to how much you receive at the end of the month. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Why do you agree?
I think because there could be other sources of income besides the salary.
That is true. That is true. There could be other sources, but your worth is still not equal to all those monies put together that is coming into your account at the end of the month. You know why? Because your worth, or what really you might have in your account, is also dependent on how much you are spending. Okay, so assuming that I receive 1,000 Ghana cedis, and there is another person that receives 5,000. Okay, at the end of the month, let's imagine those two are take home, and so the one that receives 1,000 Ghana cedis has a total obligation at the end of the month to be, let's say, 600 cedis, and so he's able to save 400 Ghana cedis at the end of the month. Then the one that also receives 5,000, by virtue of the fact that he receives plenty at the end of the month, he has borrowed a lot from the bank, from the workplace, and so forth. So the loan expenditures at the end of the month alone is like about let's say 2,000 Ghana cedis. So he's left with 3,000, right? And that same person is driving an SUV, and so spends about close to 2,000 Ghana cedis a month on fuel. And so that person is left with only 1,000 Ghana cedis. So you know what will happen? The person will have to take more loan to survive. So that person is always using his funds to service loans. So between the two of them, though one person is receiving 1,000 Ghana cedis, and so will not go to the high-end restaurants, it's not driving an SUV, maybe he doesn't even have a car, he will use a Bolt or Uber at best, or do trotro and stuff like that. When at home they are sharing costs, he will get the barest minimum. At the end of the day, who among them is worthy? Between the two of them, who is worthy? I don't know if my question is clear.
The one who is earning the little salary.
Yeah. Gabriel, I see you have unmuted. You want to share something?
Yeah, I think it depends on where we are driving the conversation, where you see it. Even though, as you were saying, when you compare we can also look at the advantage the one who is earning more that the person is also having. You just said that even though he's taking more salary, but he's using most of them to service loan. But what are some of the advantage? Maybe he go to hospital, it's free. There's a certain benefit that he can get the PF that maybe at the end of the every month we will put it there. So when the person is retired, there's a
Thank you very much.
package.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So Gabby, thank you for sharing that. So you see, that is a broader perspective, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
the the concept of being worthy or creating wealth for our future um, is not narrow, and that's the whole point of our discussion today. Most of us have a very narrow perspective. Okay, so that is one side. Okay, looking at our expenditure. Okay, how much comes to us and how much we spend. Um, the other things is about um, what kind of welfare we have, because there can be conditions that may arise at any time. So I would like to borrow an example from what Gabby said. Imagine that I'm sick right now, okay, and I need to be operated, and we are quoting a huge sum of money. Do I have an insurance that will be able to cover that? So you see, at this juncture, that would also be considered as part of my wealth, right? So it can be an insurance package that is coming from my that is coming from how do you call it, my workplace, or an insurance package that I myself have purchased to help me in times of need. So that becomes a second source. And now there are so many of these ones that we can take advantage of. Probably if anyone on the call is privy to the various insurance packages relating to health and other incidents that are available in the system, the person can unmute and share with us, because it may be very small contributions that are made. Okay, I remember that once a friend of mine was angry. He was always doing comprehensive for his car, comprehensive insurance. And for about 5 years that he started using a car, nothing had happened. So every year when he is about going to renew, then he starts cursing the insurance policies that he's throwing away money and that he's not getting anything out of it. But you know what happened? In the first week when he bought his newer car, and this one he ordered from abroad. At that time it was a Toyota, the Corolla S. That was 2009 thereabout. The same week he got the car registered in Ghana. The car was stolen that same week. That same week. And then now he approved the insurance. They went through everything. It took some time, but then he was compensated. He was able to buy a car of that same type back. And then he started praising insurance. So that can also be counted as part of your worth, because if he did not have that worth, okay, as coming from insurance package, he wouldn't have been able to buy that vehicle back. So what are some of the little things that you are also putting down to help you, cushion you when there are such incidents? So at this point, what I would like Maxwell to do is to put us into 4 breakout rooms. Okay. Now, when we go to the breakout rooms, let us share what are some of the how do we put it? What are the things like insurance packages and other mutual funds available, sources of other savings available that we can take advantage of, that will cushion us whenever there are incidents of misfortune. So Maxwell, put us into the groups, we'll discuss it. Then choose one person to present when you come back.
Okay, sir. Right away. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I am trying to send one of the breakout room to the YouTube, but it's not working.
It's not working. Don't worry. Let's leave it like that. So we have a Kwame say.
So, are you asking me something?
So Kwame said is here. If you can add him to one of the breakout rooms.
Okay. I think maybe. Okay, let me add into one of the groups.
Hello, Maxwell.
Yes, sir.
So you close the breakout rooms now.
Okay. Sorry for this.
Okay.
To close in 40 seconds.
Yeah. Maxwell, you have opened the breakout session again. Hello, welcome back. So what was the discussion? Group 1, breakout room 1. What are the alternative source of income that you identify? Hello, group 1. Or breakout room 2.
So yeah, so basically I had some of the team members, I needed to run them through on the discussion so that we can be on the same page. So but one person made a striking statement about savings, and she stated that I think we should now be moving from just the idea of saving and looking at saving to invest. And so she said something about savings being more like your money is sleeping, but investment is where your money is working for you. And so, yes, you may start with the idea of just saving, but you should, along the line, be looking at some profitable ventures or portfolios that you can invest in so that you make some returns on that than letting them sit idle. Yes.
Yeah.
And with the insurance package, we had others talking about the life. Um, the normal one that people are familiar with is the one that once you pass on, then the benefit goes to relatives and all of that. But the person mentioned about Prudential, where it's 15 years. After that, you can still have access to that. And once you start early with some of these things, you can also access them. So within the short term, these were some of the things.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, group 2. Breakout room 1. Are you now ready to share something? Veronica.
Hello.
Is there any summary of what you discussed in breakout room 1?
Yes. Only 2 people shared their views.
Okay.
First person said that she does an investment with a bank. I don't know what kind of, like, yes, a long-term investment. And the second person said he is into agriculture, if I heard him right, and he is looking for other people to invest in his enterprise. He actually joined us when we were about breaking the
Okay.
session into groups, so he couldn't have an insight to what was actually discussed.
Okay. Right. So thank you all. This shows that there are definitely alternative sources of income, and like we heard from breakout room 1, it is not only about getting more sources where money will drop as a way of salary into your bank account at the end of the month, but also whatever you receive and you can set aside from your spending should also not lie dormant. Okay. It has been the culture for a long time that people get excited when they see that their bank account is growing, right? There's a lot of money in their bank account, and they feel that they are rich when there is a lot standing in the account. But the point is that imagine that you had 10,000 sitting in your account, your bank account last year, and that money is still sitting in your bank account today. Is the value the same? No. With the high inflation rate in Ghana, you would have lost a lot of money, even though you still have 10,000. But what that 10,000 can buy today compared to what that could buy last year is way different. I think those who are used to buying cement, it was somewhere around 40 cedis last year, and now it's 60 plus. Okay, so that's what is happening if you allow your money to just sit in your bank account. And so your money should be put into investment vehicles that can help that money grow in value. Okay, so at least if you have a vehicle that is able to add even the equivalence of the inflation rate to it, then you are not losing, okay? But if your money is generating anything less than the inflation rate that we have, then you are losing. Okay, so it should be same. What you are earning, you'll be losing. Okay, so then beyond saving or investing in vehicles that help you to get your money grow. Okay, people have already spoken about life insurance policies that is also not only given at the end of your demise, okay, at your demise, but rather after a certain number of years, you are able to claim that money with interest. So what happens is that now those life insurance or assurance policies, they also use your money to invest, and they are able to give you some returns. And so this sometimes call for expertise, okay? So we need to also try to read and understand or get expert advice. That is very important because some of us have lost huge sums of money before, okay? For instance, if you have to buy any investment vehicle that it has a high risk, okay? For instance, if you are buying shares, share value can go up high and then also come down. So if you don't have the expertise of monitoring and managing it, then you are likely to lose your money. And so it is important that we get also expert advice on them. But the point is that there are many of them available that if we understand them, it can help us to grow or at least retain the value of our money over time. Okay. I see that, George, I see now your audio is connected. Would you want to add anything? Okay, looks like George is not hearing us. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now let's look at the life of the entrepreneur, like Veronica. Okay. Veronica, you mentioned something at the beginning that your startup company is barely surviving. Okay, struggling.
Yes.
Why is it struggling? Is it that you have a very good product or service and you don't have people to buy? Or you said that you are an NGO supporting, which group of people are you supporting?
The disabled.
Oh, the disabled. So what kind of model are you operating? Is it that you are always dependent on donor funds?
Yes.
Or
For
okay.
now, yes.
Okay. Okay. So your challenge is about finding donors.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So how have you done or gone about it in the past?
Okay. I have tried to fund most of the projects in the past.
By yourself?
Yes.
Oh, then you are a rich woman.
And that is why we are struggling to survive now. Because I'm overstretched.
Ah,
Yes.
okay. All right. Then we'll find some answers to your problem.
Okay.
Let me ask George to unmute. I'm trying to ask him to unmute. Okay, so you know, it is important, even more so after the pandemic, for all of us to review our operational models. Okay, so let me speak from the point of view of my company, right, Hyperspace. We realized that the over reliance on donor funds has not helped, because especially so during the pandemic, where even most of the donors were unable to raise enough money. We were unable to raise enough money, okay, to support the companies that they fund. Then the then you realize that the companies that receive the funding are also stacked, because you are always waiting for a donor agency to bring in cash. Okay, and that goes for all startups. Okay, we have overly relied on free money, so to speak, from donors, and that is creating this kind of gap or problem for us. So, what can be done? It is good for us to explore some other alternatives. So, even with regards to getting funding from companies, have you tried local companies? You know, sometimes we create our own business that we want to do, or a project that we want to do with its own project goals, and then we want others to buy into it and fund it. But have you thought about what interests these companies to also put money into? So probably, I don't know where your organization focus its operations at. If, for instance, the focus is, say, at let's say where, let's say Bono area, are there companies working or operating in the Bono area who might have the welfare of the Bono people at heart? And maybe who of them is concentrating on any of the SDGs that borders on the disabled? So if you can identify these people, it is likely that you'll be able to find one or two of them who are also looking at innovative ways of assisting these ones.
Yeah.
You can write a project proposal that fits that. You might be able to win them to sponsor. So the traditional way of NGO, where we sit and wait for somebody to find us and show interest in what we are doing and fund us, is dying out. Now we need to be more proactive and look out for the interest of people who have the money to support, and then create projects that will fit that, so that we give the attention to funders.
Okay.
So that would be one way. Yeah. And
Okay.
for any startup also that is thinking of coming up with an innovative business, you know, for those who are into the production of products, you know, you heavily rely on your customers. And it's same for those who are even rendering services. And so if you can also find, if you can also find the interest of your target market and be able to provide what they need. Okay. If we are able to break into the needs of these prospective customers, then we can create the market before even production. Okay. And I know that, for instance, if you want to go to any investor or even the banks, where you already have, say, a purchasing order, okay, or requisitions from customers to supply them, and we can clearly see the traction that, oh, as soon as this is supplied to these people, they are paying this amount to us. Then it's easier to raise funding. Okay. But many a time you meet startups and they are crazy about their own innovative idea, only for you to ask how they are going to generate money out of the innovative product, and they are stuck. All right, they don't know how. But for any person that you want to raise money from, the person will be interested in getting return on the investment. Just like we are discussing right now of being able to generate funds from elsewhere. And so one of the things that I'm preaching now is even being able to raise crowdfunding, local kind of crowdfunding, where you target, let's say, just imagine that you need 10,000, okay? You need 10,000, and you have friends who are able to invest 1,000 each. What about getting 10 of them to give you 1,000 each? But of course, you should be able to package whatever you are selling to them in a way that they will trust that if they put their money in, they will get it within a certain period of time. So that the startup idea is also another way of setting aside or setting up a machinery aside our monthly salaries that generates funds for us and can continue to even take care of us if we lose our salary work today. Okay. I don't know if things are clear up to this point, or anyone has a question.
Thank you very much, Senior. Yeah, good afternoon, House.
Good afternoon.
I think I'm just enjoying listening to you and the others on the call. It has been very insightful. At this point of our economy and how we are anticipating a better future, I believe these are things that we need to hear so that we arm ourselves going into the predictable future, I call it, because I think we can predict and plan the future. I think one part that I want to say a bit to is, first of all, the ability to know viable avenues to invest. I think that has been a challenge to most of the young people. There are some people who even are able to mobilize some money either from their salaries or from some sources, and getting the right place to invest those monies becomes a challenge. And because of that, we hear of some investments and we try to put our head in it. I remember even when MTN decided to flow shares, you see a lot more people who wanting to invest in MTN, but the idea was what is going to be the size of your shares and how is it going to give you the return that you want, especially somebody who is starting life and you are expecting high yield from investments. So I think this has been a very insightful program, I must say, and I want to continue to enjoy listening than even talking. So I wouldn't say much, but I think it's important that we as young people try to learn more about how investments work, how we can actually hold the interest of both to try to put money into things that we are doing until people find the need to what you are doing, and also they see that's more viable, that when they put in X, they can get XY from it. Becomes quite challenging. Yeah, so I think we will continue to ponder over some of these things and see how we can organize our investment to get good returns. Yeah, so I think I will chalk it here to further. Thank you.
Right. Thank you too. I don't know if anyone else has something to say. Veronica, you are unmuted.
Yes, I just want to ask a question. We've been talking about doing investments to secure our future. I'd like to know whether doing like investment in oneself, personal development investment, like learning a skill or something, can also be classified under this topic. Can you also secure one's future?
Right. Anyone want to answer that? So,
Can I?
yes, please.
Okay. So I would say yes to your question. Investing in yourself is also one of the ways to create wealth, because you yourself, you are an asset to yourself, okay? And every asset gives benefits or gives return to the person who owns it. And so if you're able to invest in yourself, acquire skills, the leader skills that you can implement in creating wealth, then you have actually invested, you have done a good investment. And I think even we always look at investments to be far from us and not thinking of ourselves, because we think investment is all about money. But acquiring skills that can be used to generate wealth is also part of investment. Thank you.
Yeah, so I like the emphasis on acquiring skills to help generate wealth. Okay, so depending on the kind of wealth that you want to create, it might mean that you need to invest into skills as well. Okay, when Bitcoin came to the scene, those who were able to invest time, their energy and money into educating themselves about Bitcoins are the ones that were able to take advantage of it. Those that did not have the skills, even though they put their money into Bitcoins, they lost heavily. And so, yes, Veronica, the answer to your question will be a big yes, right? It's already 5 o'clock and we are not a quarter way through discussing this. My proposition is that we continue next week, and I promised next month. Douglas, is monthly, right? Or weekly?
It's weekly, sir.
Okay, so then we'll continue next week, and I promise to bring on at least a banker and an investment banker that will share insights on the available options in Ghana for us so that we can all learn from. How many of us will be interested in that? If I can see by a show of hands, just raise your computer hand. Those will be ready for it.
Please have your attention. Africa World Airlines announces boarding of flight AW 140 January and boarding call for flight.
Oh, I have only 2 people raising their hand. Trouble. Okay. I think some are rather typing in the group. And so then that's what we're going to do. We'll definitely share the link like we did for this one. We'll bring them on board so that within an hour they can share with us what the options are that we can take advantage of. So at this juncture, if anyone has any pressing question the person can ask, or if you have a last contribution to make, you can do that before we bring this to a close today. You can just unmute to speak if you have something to share. I'm saying that if anyone has something to say finally, or a last pressing question to ask, the person can do that right now. Okay, then thank you everybody for coming today. It's been great interacting with you, and I hope to see all of you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you very much.
Right, sir. I really
You're
enjoyed
welcome.
myself today.
Oh, that's great. Hope to see you next week.